There.
Life complete, and I love you so.
All right. Welcome to a brand new episode of How'd We Get Here? We're talking about Joe. What are we talking about tonight? I want to hear you explain it because I think you got the same kind of energy he had. All right, man. So break it down for us.
Do I? I don't know if I have the same energy as he had. It's Nick Cage, so you know he's gonna bring the Nick Cage. But we're gonna be talking about a movie that's I'll always hold dear in heart is Wild at Heart by David Lynch. So this was like my first. It's a twofer for me. It's the first movie I ever saw by David Lynch, and it's the first movie I ever saw with Nick Cage in it. So this movie is always gonna be. I'm always going to enjoy it no matter. But I think it's held up. I mean, we'll get into it later. But Wild at Heart by David Lynch, it released in 1990 to mixed reviews at the time.
Palme d'Or winning Wild at Heart, man. Cannes Film Festival, that's the most prestigious one you can get. But like Joe was saying, like it is kind of a weird film because it's really hard to find, and it kind of always has been. And I think there's a few reasons for that because it's kind of Lynch's most horny film, which is kind of funny because a lot of his films have a lot of sexual deviancy in them, but like this film goes kind of a little harder than the rest. There's a couple like raw dogging scenes where you're just kind of like, damn, why did you have to film him like that, dog? But whatever. But yeah, and then I think that there's just it's also kind of in a weird way his most disturbing film because there are scenes that his films are supposed to make you feel uncomfortable, but there are a few in this that really are super effective.
Mm-hmm.
The Willem Dafoe scene,
just the intro, how it opens, why he ends up in jail, like just how brutal that is right from the start. You're like, okay, we're in for something.
It's like this is going to be interesting. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So basically, the story follows. This is actually based on a novel of the same name that came out in '89, and David Lynch wanted to adapt it into a movie. So, yeah, Anthony. Yeah, I was 90. I was let's see. I saw it when it came out on VHS. If kids don't know what that is, that's before Blu-ray, before DVD, you had VHS, right? So I saw it on VHS, and this came out like right after the Battle of Beta versus VHS came out, and VHS came out on top. So anyway, you guys can go Google all that shit if you want to find out what all that shit means. But I was maybe 13, 14. I was probably 14 years old when I saw this. Yeah, so yeah.
That's a little young to be watching this. I think.
Yeah, but whatever. I was 14 when it came out on VHS. I think I don't know how long movies took before they got released onto tape back then, but
it's
probably about a good half a year. Yeah,
within a year. So
I'd say probably good 5 to 6 months between like back in the day.
So I was probably 13, just turned 14, somewhere around there when I saw this movie.
And it's super raunchy, even for like a movie released nowadays. Like I can't believe like it got a mass release in 1990 because like especially I don't know if any of the version because I have like the released by MGM VHS that I've always had of it, and it's always been like with the really crude scenes. So I don't know if there was ever an edited version. I doubt it though. But like it's as raunchy as like some of the more adult what are they called, YA books that came out not too long ago. Like it's pretty raunchy for a mainstream Hollywood film. You know what I mean? Because this, after it did the numbers of Cannes and stuff, it got a theatrical release, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. It started in about just under 500 theaters, and then it went to a full release in over 600 theaters. So in North America, so it got that's pretty good, I guess. Back in the day, I guess I'm not sure how many theaters there were, but that sounds like a pretty good number. So
yeah. Where does this fall in the filmography
of David Lynch?
Yeah.
This is right after this
Blue
is after
Velvet.
Twin Peaks. This is right after Blue Velvet.
Okay.
Yeah, he did Blue Velvet, Twin Peaks, and then he did. I think he was making this at the same time as he was doing Twin Peaks, if I'm not mistaken. I think
the Twin Peaks movie.
Yeah, because he did the series and then he closed it out with a movie. Yeah, which a lot of other series have kind of gone that route too since then, like Justified, Deadwood. A few of them have done it. I think Sopranos actually did a movie recently too, haven't they?
I wouldn't really say Wild at Heart closed out the series though. It was more of a prequel, and and that's why he's still doing more with it. You know what I mean? I don't think that movie was meant.
The Twin Peaks, yeah.
Fire Walk with Me, yeah. But this is right before he went into just his really weird obscure films though. This is this is the film he made before Lost Highway, and then and his really nonsensical trilogy is like a lot of people like to call Lost Highway, Mulholland Drive, and Inland Empire. So
which he's which were always pretty Oscar friendly. The Oscars loved his stuff. He got especially Mulholland Drive. He got several nominations for that one.
It won something, didn't it?
Yeah. I think it won the movie of the year, no?
Oh, did it?
He got Best Picture.
Oh my God.
That year. Yeah.
Which is like his second horniest film. So like when David Lynch goes super horny, he wins awards, man.
That's it. He should stick to super horny. Yeah.
But like Anthony was saying, my parents didn't police what I watched either. As long as it wasn't straight up pornography, they didn't really bother too much. So I pretty much had free reign. And this was about the age where movies started to become more of recognizing them more as an art form as opposed to a form of just entertainment. You know, when you're a little kid, like I read like Ultraman, like the imports from Japan and stuff, and I'd watch all that stuff and never really stopped to think about the actors, the directors. And this came out, and this was right about, I was like I said, 13, 14. So I had more of an awareness of like, okay, the director, actors, and and I was looking at movies more like
the craft of it all.
Yes. The craft, more than just like it's just something to watch to pass the time and be entertained with. So so it definitely was an interesting one for me because it was just like you know, you're coming into it, like you said, appreciating it on a higher, more intellectual level. So
that's how Lost Highway landed for me personally, man. Like that's my version of the you know, how you're talking about Wild at Heart. I ended up catching this one later. I don't think I ended up watching this one till 2000. So it was pretty late into it. Like I said, I got the VHS, the MGM one at Target, like for $8. I got like that and Wild at Heart and shit. Like I mean that and Blue Velvet and like that because like I said, like I didn't really get into David Lynch until Lost Highway. So I had a lot of catching up to do, and some of his stuff was hard to get. Like it took me a long time to get to see Eraserhead.
But you see, when I went to school, I did a cinema class, and that's one of the movies the teacher showed us was Eraserhead. So,
but I didn't end up going to film school until 2002. I didn't graduate high school until 2000. So,
See, it was in '95, I think, when I went to college. So, so the teacher put Eraserhead was one of them. There was another one by a French director. Fuck, I can't remember the name, where he takes a surgical blade and cuts a cow eyeball. He has a close up and he cuts it. It's like a short film.
That's Tarti Andalou by what's his name? Dali, Salvador Dali directed.
So he showed us that one. He and then we had to make our own. Our final project was to do a short film. So that was
short little fun. Weird shit movie. Yeah,
that's what I did. The teacher liked it though. I got along with that teacher.
But the Wild at Heart, man, like the one that like really kind of makes this one of the more interesting David Lynch films is the fact that like most of his other stuff kind of takes place in a city or like it's kind of got like an urban sheen to it, whereas this one he goes kind of redneck with it. He's running around Florida and North Carolina and Texas, you know what I mean? So you get to see kind of how when Ed Brubaker did Reckless is kind of the same thing. You know what I mean? You kind of get to see him do kind of the redneck or white trash version of like his style.
Deserts and trailer parks. That's it.
And it's pretty interesting to see how his style of noir kind of translated over to, you know, kind of a more rural setting. You know what I mean? Like it was, I mean, his hitmen in this are probably the most terrifying that he's ever done. I think that these are creepier than the Black Lounge people in Twin Peaks, man. Like the blonde lady and her hitman, Patrick Kelly and the other dude, man, I would not ever want to end up duct taped to a fucking chair with those people around me, man. Like, you know, woo.
Yeah.
So yeah, like this is a definitely a very interesting film in his catalog because he's done other adaptations. Dune was an adaptation, and I believe Straight Story was also an adaptation. But I think this one he kind of really it didn't seem like he was. It seemed like he was actually trying to do something besides his normal style while infusing his style in it at the same time. And I think it translated better than most of his other adaptations. Whereas a lot of people say Dune's a failure, I think that this one really nails what it goes for. Like, you know, I know that he looks down on it, but I actually think that Jackie Brown is Tarantino's best film, and I think that, like, in a way, Wild at Heart is David Lynch's Jackie Brown. If that makes any sense to you guys.
No, I'd agree with that.
Because because Tarantino hates it because that's an adaptation. It's an Elmore Leonard.
Yeah. Okay. But this was supposed to go. We were supposed to do a vote for the next movie. That Cookie was supposed to pick one or two, and we're supposed to throw a couple in. We're supposed to vote, and this was one of the ones that we're supposed to vote on. But you had actually ordered the DVD because I said this was one of my favorite David Lynch movies that has Nick Cage and it has the love story and stuff. Hey, Emmett. And so you're like, let's just do this one. So then I ran it through Johnny. He's like, yeah, we'll do the vote next time. So we'll come up with 4 movies to vote on next time. Because you're like, we got to talk about this one.
I need to talk about this. It's so
wanted to talk about it. Yeah. So let's hear your take on it, Cookie. This was your first time, right?
Yeah. So, well, because I couldn't find it anywhere. It's not streaming anywhere. It's not, you know, even like back in the day going into Suncoast or whatever. It's not like it was easy to find. So I was like, I'll get to it when I get to it. And then you're like, oh, it's like true romance. It's great. You're a liar.
Or more like I could see the parallels how it influenced maybe like Natural Born Killers, stuff like that. You know, like this fucked up romance that has all this chaos surrounding it within it, and they're just living within this chaos, just trying to be with one another, right? And it's definitely a lot of fucked up stuff. So
yeah, no, about like the opening scene, I was like, oh, I'm watching a David Lynch movie. like I'm buckled in for this. But it was I think because I know I'm gonna get like canceled for this, but I'm not a David Lynch fan usually. I don't like the weird artsy stuff is not my thing. So
but that's why I told you, I said out of all his movies, I think this is probably the one that is probably the most straightforward, one of his more straightforward stories where the weird it's not as surreal as a lot of his other ones. It's more like straightforward kind of.
It's straightforward weird. Yes. Yeah.
This one and Blue Velvet are kind of like that.
So I was like, maybe if there's any David Lynch movies, this is the one you could probably get on with, because I mean, Nick Cage and Laura Dern, like such a great chemistry I find in this movie. Like, I think they're great together, and like his Elvis style kind of persona with her like over the top, exuberant kind of like
she was so cute in this movie.
Childlike youthfulness to her, that like she was kind of had that Juno typical, you know, broken girl character to her.
And if you listen to interviews, like they loved making this movie. Like they had a blast. Her and Nick Cage had a blast, and I think you see it on the screen. It just translates onto the screen where they weren't even acting. They were just it
feels genuine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's the strength of this movie. If anything, it's the Nick Cage Laura Dern dynamic in this is fantastic. And the one other highlight for me would have to be Willem Dafoe's character.
With the baby teeth.
Oh, so good. So damn good.
Never let that fool use your bathroom, man. Like even without the creepy teeth. Like if David, as a like a regular just dude, like if Willem Dafoe came and asked to use my pisser, I'd be like, hell no, Willem Dafoe, man, get the fuck off my porch.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And like I listened to an interview, like, because I hadn't watched this in quite a while. Like I'd seen it many times. Like I used to watch it quite often, and I hadn't watched it in a really long time because, like you said, movie stores don't exist anymore, and it's hard to get. And I never owned it. I always was able to go rent it anytime I wanted to. But in recent time, especially since the pandemic, like if you could find a video store somewhere, it's probably the last one in existence right now, like a rental place. So, so I don't have that luxury anymore of just being able to, I feel like watching it, pick it up for like $1 rental for a week, and you have it for a week for $1, you know, like that's not an option anymore. So I should do like you, hunt it down and just buy a copy to have it. But I saw an interview with Dafoe, and he was talking to Lynch, like this character, this and that. And he's like, he already had the costume. He's like, this is your costume. This is, and he was asking him questions, and he's like, he didn't give me much direction, but he said, you have to wear these teeth. And he's like, so he's like, no, we're going to make you prosthetic that fitted and then he's like, as soon as he put the teeth in, he's like, it just transformed you. Cause he said, it made his lip pop out. And he's like, and all of a sudden it just changed his posture, the way he moved. And he's like, the teeth just it made him able to channel that character and his personality. He's like, if it wasn't for the teeth, he would have never been able to play the character the way he did. So,
my God, those teeth!
That was so cool. Yeah, and watching him talk about it in that interview, you just look it up. Willem Dafoe interview for Wild at Heart, and you can find that interview. And the way he's talking about it, it's so funny. And it's.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, it was good. And just like, and then you see how he's talking about it, he starts changing it, like he's getting back into character. And this interview was like from not that long ago, like maybe from 10 years ago. So he's been like, this movie came out in 90, so it's almost at its 35-year anniversary, right? Like within a year, it'll be 35 years it's been out. So it's fun just to see him go back and remember all these things. And,
I think
Bobby Peru.
I think everybody was pretty good in it, though, man. Like, when they played the mom, she was pretty. Oh man, yeah, she was.
Oh my God, the mom.
She did.
Best supporting actress, and she is actually Laura Dern's mother. That's actually Laura Dern's mother. Diane Ladd, as I believe that's her name. Where is she? Yeah, Diane Ladd. It's Laura Dern's mother. So her mother played her mother in the movie, and
And Harry Dean Stanton was great in it, man. When he's like watching the Discovery Channel or whatever, and he's just barking at his TV, like just doing that David Lynch shit, man. Jack Nannon, like all the Lynch classics are in there, so they all pretty much perform pretty well. But yeah, Dafoe, like that is probably the most uncomfortable scene I've ever seen in a David Lynch film, and probably one of the more disturbing scenes. And nothing really actually happens, but like that hotel room scene between him and Laura Dern, man, I don't know, it affects me, man. Like it really.
I was getting so upset. I'm like, ew. I hated it.
Right? I mean, like, oh. But then, like, you get the next scene with him and Sailor going drinking, and like you're just laughing at it because, like, it's also on top of everything else, it's also David Lynch's funniest movie because it's got these he's always got these weird offbeat scenes, but these ones are actually laugh out loud funny, and like they're supposed to be. I think I don't see any other reason why you would have Willem Dafoe acting that way at the scene where they're at the bar and stuff. But like, man, is that almost it's pretty hysterical. I thought trying to talk him into doing the crime with them.
So just so people aren't too lost, I think most people have probably seen it, but the story is about Sailor and Lula, who are two young lovers. And Sailor, the mother hates Sailor because he used to work for this gang as a driver. And the mother has, it's not a huge spoiler, it gets revealed. And anyway, she doesn't like Sailor because he knows something that she's done. She has a secret that Sailor knows about. So she tries to get him killed, and he defends himself, kills the guy. It's manslaughter. He goes to jail. And then when he comes back, he and Lula hook back up and take off on a road trip. And that's when the mother, what's her name in the movie? Marietta, hires. She puts out a hit on him. So you've got these hitmen that are trying to find Sailor and Lula to kill Nicolas Cage's character, who is Sailor. So that's where Willem Dafoe comes in. You have the guy that she has an ex-lover called Santos, and he's the one who sets all this up. He's the one who has the connections, and he hires these people, and they have these silver coins, which is kind of a little John Wickish, where you give these people silver coins and they owe you a favor, right? So he has 2 silver coins. He gives it to two different people. He gives it to this Louisiana voodoo type couple that are insane, and they have to kill the mother's lover, because Santos wants the mother's lover, and he gives another silver coin to Dafoe and Isabella Rossellini, who is a common collaborator with David Lynch. And so these characters are introduced on their road trip to Texas. And you get all these weird scenes, like Johnny says, as they get introduced into the film. And there's some very bizarre scenes. And he introduces like a subplot of this movie echoes kind of the Yellow Brick Road, which is why often you see them when they're driving, which you see often. I think he took this from this movie and probably introduced it a lot in Lost Highway, the shot of the road, and you see the yellow line. And as they're driving, you see the yellow line, which I think represents the Yellow Brick Road that they're following down the story of this path, right? So he often gives those close-up shots of the yellow line on the road going by, and that's one of the first scenes you see as they take off with that. So they're going down the Yellow Brick Road, which starts their journey and their adventure, right? And then, like you said, Willem Dafoe is introduced. Yeah, and it's quite. There's some surreal scenes, like the love, never give up on love scene.
The car crash is pretty surreal.
The car crash, yeah, it's never really explained. It's just something that happens and it's there. You have the Crispin Glover.
Oh yeah, Jingle Bell. He should deserve his own film, man. I would watch a whole movie about Jingle Bell, man.
Jingle Bell, yeah. Because Laura Dern tells these stories about her life before she was with Sailor, and these become these little surreal mini short films within the movie. Like as she's telling the story, they create this whole other small movie within the movie. So there's almost like a mini anthology inside this movie, like other little short like art films in it. So which is kind of interesting if you like that kind of thing. And then anyway, as the story goes, you get these little art films within the story that are introduced by Laura Dern telling Sailor these stories about her youth and stuff. So it's pretty interesting, and it gets to the end. And if you like gore, because David Lynch isn't big on he likes practical effects, and the Willem Dafoe scene at the bank.
He likes to have at least one good kill in his movies, though.
Oh, man. I like a good beheading, or I'm what was the one with BB? What was that called? Deadly Friend?
Yeah, Deadly Friend.
The basketball. I love Hereditary.
Mm-hmm.
The girl when she gets decapitated, and you get the one in
decapitations.
This movie. It is a good. I enjoy a good decapitation scene, and this one has a great one. And it's so good the way it happens too. I love it. I thought it was great. Yeah, it's cheesy, but cheesy in the best kind of way.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. Like the movie kind of has a cynical and kind of nihilistic tone to it, but like that one little part at the end, like. The first time I saw the movie, I kind of thought it was a cop-out, but like every time I watch it since, I kind of like that they throw.
Hey, Roger Ebert, get out of here, Roger Ebert!
Oh no! I'm talking about when the two guys at the feed store are still alive, man. After like
but have you heard Have you listened to Roger Ebert's review of this film?
I hate Siskel and Ebert, man. I hate all film critics.
Siskel liked it. He actually liked it, but. Robert Ebert's not the biggest David Lynch fan. Let's just put it that way. No.
Did not give it a glowing review.
No, but he said he kind of echoed the exact same thing as Johnny. Like he introduces these things, and like then he'll try to anyway, he's like, it's a cop out. He doesn't fully commit to it, or anyway, that was his big criticism of Wild at Heart. But I mean,
also how come the hitman stopped trying to kill him after Willem Dafoe died? That's my last one that I'm gonna say though. But like that's not how hits work. Like if you kill one hitman, they keep coming.
Yeah, but it's because he only had the 2 silver coins.
Yeah, that means that they don't stop until the 2 people are dead. They killed one of them, and then
the other one. But there is a book based on her character, Isabella Rossellini's character.
Okay, so there might be
from the same author. Yeah, I went and checked it, and there's a book based on her character as well, in the same world, the Wild at Heart world.
But I mean, like it's a surreal neo noir like nightmare thing, so like I'm not really expecting it to like make sense. I'm not going full like
to tie all the loose ends. Yeah, no.
with this one, you know what I mean, or whatever that. Like I'm not gonna go that. But like there are a couple things where I'm just kind of like, it would have been nice, you know.
Well. Because he does end up back in prison, right? But I guess that would probably be the easiest time to try to get him killed.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, I guess because she's pregnant. I mean, I don't know. Like, but asking David Lynch to explain anything, like, yeah, you're he doesn't do it. So, like, I'm just banging my head against the wall now. Yeah. So,
yeah.
But I like this film so much, man. I'm glad we covered it like pretty early on. Because
I mean, this comes because it's a Nick Cage movie, and this whole thing is Cage loves. So I think we should go into more. Like we talked pretty much about globally about the movie, but I think we should get into Nick Cage. I love this character. I think he's great. I love the kung fu dancing is so funny. I love that. The snakeskin jacket. I mean, we can't talk about this movie without talking about his snakeskin jacket. And I went and listened to interviews. And when he was cast for the movie, he went and saw David Lynch. And he had previously bought this jacket. He actually owns this jacket. And he bought it a year or 2 previously at a thrift shop on Hollywood Boulevard somewhere. And he bought it with the intent of wearing it in one of his movies eventually. So he said when he first got it, he wore it around like casually for a year, and then he put it in his closet. And then when he read the script that David Lynch sent him, when he went in to do his what do you call it, the test screenings or whatever, where they just do like just quick anyway the reads and stuff. He's told David, he's like, David, I have this snakeskin jacket. I've been wanting to wear it in a movie, and I think this is the perfect role where this character should wear it. So then David's like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'll think about it. And then he like. I think a week or 2 went by, and he's like, all right, I've got it figured out. You can wear the jacket, and this is where this is a symbol of my individuality and my personal belief and personal freedom. And that's where David Lynch came up with that line. That was introduced into the screenplay after talking to Nicolas Cage, who wanted to wear this. And I think it's such a great line, and it definitely adds like, it's the perfect summary of the character and like what he stands for and what he represents in the movie and stuff. So it's pretty cool. And it definitely adds like that. Like I was 13, 14 when I saw this. So this was like, I wanted to own a snakeskin jacket so bad.
It's like, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was. Even today, if I saw one, I'd buy it. If it wasn't ridiculously priced. If I was in a thrift shop, I'd buy it just for, you know. And Nick Cage has a reputation for
being weird.
The extravagant like jackets, because just what was it, a few years ago he had that pink
I love that
leather jacket. Had big
all
time
bedazzled
had the big time, what do you call Travis Touchdown vibes. If anyone's played No More Heroes, that jacket definitely had Travis Touchdown vibes. So so that's the snakeskin jacket. That's how that came to be in True Romance, because otherwise it was just, I think he was just supposed to wear like t-shirts and just drive around kind of greaser style, but I'd
have loved to hear that conversation though, man. David, I got this wonderful jacket, man. You should check it out. You know what, Nick? I think that jacket is pretty cool. I think you should wear it. I think you should say, I like this jacket because it's my symbol of self-expression. And yeah, dude, like
oh my god. I will say though that the pairing of Nick Cage and David Lynch was probably like a match made in heaven, because it's just like so over the top and just so perfect. No, and I was like, oh, it's the pointing meme. I know where it's from now.
yeah, that one. He brings
Yeah.
it back, and is it Matchstick Man? Where he's sitting at his desk and he goes. Anyway, he brings it back in his other movies, and he has that other one where he Gone in 60 Seconds. All right, let's go. Like he likes doing that, like kind of hand gesture all the time.
He's a pointer.
Yeah, he's a pointer for sure. Yeah. Yeah, but
as far as cageisms go in this movie, I'd say like this has some pretty significant ones because like we actually get him singing twice in this movie.
Oh, so beautiful.
Elvis croonings, man. Like he goes full crooner and it's gorgeous, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah.
Oh, and they don't hide it either because when they're at the hurricane, he's like, "You guys give off big E vibes," and that's when he gets the mic and he starts singing the Elvis song, right? So
how funny is that? The lead singer looks so pissy when he throws him the microphone too. He's like, "Fuck, here you go. I'm leaving though."
Yeah. And what fucking place where the guy just points at the band like that and they stop playing, right? Like,
there's rules. Like I was in a band. Like, if a guy in a snakeskin jacket that's doing kung fu in the pit asks for the mic, you throw it to him. Man, that's etiquette. You know what I mean? You know that rule.
That's right.
So this came out in 90, which means like hardcore was already in full swing. So do you think Nick Cage was a fan of hardcore music? And that's how he kind of got his dancing down from that?
Yeah, he liked punk rock a lot. Like that's why he was in stuff like Valley Girl and shit, because he like actually listened to like a lot of the bands and like hung out with them and stuff. So yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, the music in this was kind of more thrash. It was kind of more on the Sunset Boulevard thrash style, more than hardcore. But I would say that he is definitely kind of more of a punk rocker than a metalhead in this, though. Like if I was to say like his personality, he's a punk in this, man, straight up.
Yeah.
An Elvis punk, though. Hey, don't forget that.
Peanut.
I also wonder, like if the character Johnny Bravo is also a little bit based off of Sailor.
Yeah, it could be.
I hear it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely inspired by Elvis, if anything. Yeah. Yeah. What else is there? There's obviously the sex scenes. I mean,
they go hard.
There's quite a few of them too. Like one of them, you're like, okay, it's going. Then you think, okay, it's fading out. Well, it fades back into an even more hardcore scene of it, you know. Yeah, so there's quite a few sex scenes between Nick Cage and Laura Dern. Which are always followed up by them. What do you call it? In the afterglow, which has some beautiful moments after. So it's not, so it doesn't feel exploitive or gratuitous. Because they have them laying there just enjoying each other's company after. So it feels like
the match strikes constantly too.
So it definitely feels more like a loving couple that are just passionate about each other, and so it doesn't feel exploitive in like maybe some other movies where it just feels like it's thrown in there. You gotta think this guy had been in jail for almost 3 years, so he's getting out of jail, meeting his girlfriend. So there's gonna be some.
They're gonna be banging, yes.
There's gonna be some.
It's still smutty. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Straight up. Like,
no, you know what? I feel like it was tasteful. It was a lot, but it wasn't like.
Yeah.
I'd say it was tasteful until the scene where he's like straight up just like giving it to her, like, and it's like pretty hardcore in that one part, and like you get a pretty good. It looks pretty realistic, man, like Brown Bunny realistic. So I was just kind of like,
oh, I wouldn't go that far. Because if you notice, the covers are always placed to hide. Basically, you never see her ass. You only see her breasts. Like it's always wrapped around.
Definitely. I'm not saying that like it deserves an X by any means or anything. Like it's definitely rated R stuff, but like it's pushing the R.
I think the most graphic scene was where he's telling the story about the girl he hooked up with.
Yeah, with the finger
on the bed, and he slides his hand between her legs. I think that was the most
horny part.
Visually graphic. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like that's when I was rewatching, I'm like, this really is his most horny film, and that was the scene that made me like realize that too, because straight up. Because
like
usually in Lynch, there's 1 to 2 like pretty good sex scenes in most of them, but like this one like 8, 12, something like that. It's quite a few.
But it's normal, right? They're on a road trip. They stop at a hotel.
It's like, hey, what are you gonna
stop
do?
at a hotel. Like I said, dude's been locked up for 3 years. And I don't know the type of girl she is, but if she waited for him, she's probably ready to go as well. They're both ready, raring to go. So, but even then, he even warns her at one point. He even says, "Let's take it a little easy because we got a big day tomorrow." Or what was it? He says at one point, he's like, "Let's go a little mellow this time." Like he even says at one point, like,
"Yeah, we got to drive."
When they're in the booth in the bar, right? Yeah.
Let's get back to the room. He's like, well, we got a big day tomorrow, so let's not go too crazy. So there's these little things like that are cute, like just between him and her, and and I know Johnny. Before you said your favorite scene is the car radio scene where they pull over on the side of the desert.
Because like most of the film he's driving, so like she's like, yo, you look tired, honey, you mind if I drive for a little bit? He's like, no, that sounds pretty good. So he's like in the back crashed out, and she's just cruising through Texas, South Texas, listening to the radio, and it's just she gets report after report of crimes, and if it's not that, it's some pastor preaching up the devil. So she's just finally flips out. She's like, sailor, you put something on this goddamn radio or I'm gonna lose my mind. And like he hops up and they put on the power metal, and like they're just out in the desert, just kickbox dancing, and it's probably like that's what everybody that you ever see at like a hardcore show doing windmills thinks they look like. They think they look like Nicolas Cage in this movie, but but that's
just the flip out of the car too. Like that's all Nicolas Cage. That's not a stunt double or anything. So he's got some pretty good kicks though. Yeah, especially in the desert, you see it. Like he's got more open, so he goes for it a little more. That's where you can see those roundhouse kicks from that he uses in Con Air. You can see him in this movie. Yeah, you see that's like he's got long legs too. So
he's all legs.
when he does those roundhouse kicks like that, it's impressive.
Yeah.
It's kind of bad he didn't do like a more kind of a martial arts type movie at some point. You know what I mean? Like he kind of played a boxer, I think, in the remake of Kiss of Death, but like I think that's the only like it would have been cool to actually see him like do a fight movie. You know what I mean?
Full on like
Kung
action
Fu or something.
Yeah. Like he was younger in his younger years. Yeah.
If like he would have did like like one of the like if he would have teamed up with Dolph Lundgren or something, and or Brandon Lee when he was still alive and did if he was in Showdown in Little Tokyo instead, that would have been pretty cool. But
But I mean, he's such an interesting character because he's not like a classic, like Hollywood hunk looking type guy, right? Like he doesn't have that classic good looks. He has no chin. Like, I mean,
women love him though, man. That's what
I mean. So
even when I was in high school, man, like girls.
Yeah, it's all in the personality, right? It's the what he exudes as a person. His personality is so big. That it overcomes. Because if you look at Nick Cage, the dude does not like he has no chin. It's almost
he really doesn't.
So it's like exactly. He doesn't got that big square jaw. But like you said, like Johnny says, you just can't help but love him, right? Because he's so passionate, like in all his roles, like you say, that's how I think it became the Cageisms, right? Where he goes full on Nick Cage because he gets so into it that he just goes over the top so often because he gets too worked up, too into the role.
His neo-shamanism, like he actually says that it's like a spiritual trance that he goes into, kind of like a shaman does when they're doing their dances, or like that's how he describes it. And like when I see him just kind of out of his mind doing his shit, I believe it, man. Like he does not look like the normal person is there anymore, and like he is like embodied like whatever he is doing, like when he's just kung fu dancing or.
And I think. Has he ever had a reputation of having a drug problem? I don't think so, eh?
he's gotten in trouble being drunk. Like I remember him and like one of the guys from Motley Crue, like the guy from Motley Crue actually made a fool out of himself, but Nicolas Cage was partying with him and he was drunk and like he like hugged him and held him down and told him like or I don't know if it was Nikki Six or which one it was, but he was telling him he's got to chill out and stuff. And like, so like I know he parties, but like I don't know if I've never heard of him having to go to rehab or anything like that.
Yeah, like a serious alcohol or drug addiction or anything. So this is him channel, like this is just him being him. Like it's not him fucked up out of his mind. Like you said, he just goes into this place within himself and just goes for it, you know? So
that's how he describes it. Like
but I mean, people have seen it. Like I mean, he does do his Nick Cage thing here, but I don't think it's as I think he holds back a bit, you know,
he's
like
too busy being Elvis to do Nick Cage, man.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like he literally wanted to play this role as Elvis. He wanted to make some kind of weird desert neo-noir Elvis film.
Because I've seen Nick Cage movies where he's a lot more Nick Cage than this, and like he's definitely got it. But I mean, there's a little added something here that's not quite like
because he wanted to do that whole gentlemanly thing. He was being a Southern gentleman the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
Soft spoken and everything. Yeah.
Even at the really funny scene at the end where like he gets into the altercation with the fellas for saying
and he apologizes. Yeah,
I'm so sorry, fellas. I did not mean to call you that slur, but I'm having a bad day.
You made me come to a thank you because you've made me come to a realization. He just screams Lula and then takes off running. Yeah. Sorry for referring to you as homosexuals. And that part's just so funny too. He gets up and right away just apologizes. Like, yeah, it's great. That's what I love about this role, because as you go, you see Nick Cage just going over the top, but I think he gets that point, and then like Johnny says, like because he has that, he's always a gentleman. So he's always, even when he like the scene in the bar where he's dancing at the Hurricane, and the guy gets up on Laura Dern, he's still calm and collective, and he gives the guy like, so he's always in control, right? He never loses it. So and I love that about his character in this one, where it's Nick Cage, but you can see he's holding back, but only because the character he's playing never
would
completely loses control, except for maybe that first scene right in the beginning where, you know, he kills the guy that you know, he ends up in prison for the first time. He goes a little, but I think too that makes him realize like he went away for 2-3 years in jail where he didn't get to see Lula. So that's like he's like if I want to be with this girl, I can't just go around being reckless. And even when he goes to the bank and things go sideways, he's like, oh fuck. The first thing he thinks is I let Lula down again, right? That's the first thing he thinks of. He doesn't, you know, so yeah. So I love it. I love Nick Cage's character in here, and I fell in love with him as an actor because of this movie. And he's had great roles after. Like I love him in Con Air.
Pretty similar to this, man. I could see, like I would like to see the Sailor and Cameron Poe team up and have him play dual roles. Like that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Jiu-Jitsu, yeah, but I think that's when he was a little older, no?
Yeah, and he didn't actually really do too much fighting. Like he did some jumping around and stuff, and it was pretty cool what he did do. But yeah, Jiu-Jitsu. That'll probably be covered on here one day because like he is a lot of fun in that. When we're running a little low, yeah.
Well, it'll take a while because he's back in full force now, making 2-3 movies a year. So
pretty good ones this last year, man. Like I was not disappointed. I finally got to see Retirement Plan. That was a cute little movie, man. Like not his best work, but like it's definitely watchable.
Retirement Plan. That's one with his granddaughter.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Ron Perlman.
Yeah.
I love Ron Perlman in that. How he's so with the little girl. Like it's such a great. The Ron Perlman and the granddaughter dynamic. I love it. It's so adorable in that movie. How he's like, he's almost like the big uncle looking out for her, kind of like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just found it really cute, the Ron Perlman dynamic with the girl in that. But we'll save that for another time.
Yeah, that's a whole other episode when we get to it.
All right, Cookie. I need to know. Overall, what did you think of this movie? Overall, seeing as how you're not a Lynch fan, but you are a Nick Cage fan. So
I am. So this is the problem. I'm very torn because I love Nick Cage in this movie, but it's so weird. I swear, I almost messaged you with at the lipstick scene.
Oh yes.
I literally had to pause the movie and be like, "What the fuck am I watching?" But overall, I like the story. I like how it ended. I like Nick Cage in it. I would give it a 6 out of 10.
I think you're right there with the overall like Rotten Tomatoes or Metacritic. I think it's right about there. It's at a 6 on 10. So I think you're right there with most people.
Yeah. It's so weird.
And let's say just Nick Cage. Where would you rate this performance out of like all the like? I know you haven't seen every Nick Cage movie, but let's say out of all the movies you've seen of his, this performance, what would you say?
Top 5, I'd say.
Top 5?
Yeah. No, he was excellent in this. It was fun.
Yeah, it's definitely one to remember. Like, like I think it's the full package: the look, the persona. You know, it's got some action. He does like. There's just so much going for his character in this one that
well, it was the singing too that kind of put it over the top. It's like, aw, got a nice voice.
He does. He really does. I think. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
What do you think about the hitman scenes?
They were a lot.
Man, like I hear what you're saying, but like in the grand scheme of Lynch, man, this isn't very weird of a film of his. Like there are some super weird parts to it, but like, man, like have you seen Mulholland Drive?
No, because I'm like it's not for me. You know what I mean?
You're not a Lynch fan, I get it. Yeah.
So
have you seen Twin Peaks though?
Yeah, your threshold.
You have seen Twin Peaks? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people have. That was a television series, so a lot of people have. I think a lot of people probably have seen Lynch. They just don't realize it because if they've seen Twin Peaks, then you've seen what Lynch is about. More or less.
Well, if you've seen Riverdale, you've pretty much seen David Lynch. There's so much shit that rips him off nowadays, just blatantly. You know what I mean? He like if you like Legion, you like David Lynch. You know there are so many TV shows like I could point to that like so take from him and his style. You know what I mean? He is very, very influential and iconic. And I mean, a lot of people have mellowed it out. Like a lot of people don't try to go as hard into the surrealism as he does a lot of the time. But I mean, I guess that's what makes you a trailblazer. You know what I mean? But I love the dude stuff. But like, but the thing that I like most about like his weirder stuff is like he makes it so you can work out whatever you want to out of his work. Whereas this movie, like, it's a straight narrative. You know what I mean? There's nothing. There's nothing really for you to work out yourself. You know what I mean? The story, is right there for you. Even the really graphic and like spooky parts of the movie are pretty much filled out for you. Like the essay parts of the movie, which, damn, was that a really kind of disturbing part of the movie as well? With Uncle, what's his name? Like, yeah, there's some pretty disturbing parts in this film. Now that I start thinking back on it. Wow. So, but that's the neat thing about this one is like it's such an oddity in Western cinema. Like French movies come out like this all the time, and like in Europe and stuff. But like for an American film to be made like this and be respected and kind of put out, like it's a very rarity because like it is much unlike a lot of David Lynch's other stuff. Like it's a really hard film to summarize, man. That's like so much of his stuff, but this one is even different than like his normal shit. So like it's even hard to kind of describe, in my opinion. But I think that like if you were into art cinema in any kind of capacity, it's a film you need to see, into story.
Yeah.
And I think it's a perfect example of creating an uneasiness or dread just by the tonality of each scene, where he doesn't, like you said, a lot of his movies go into surrealism, like where it's almost like a dream, like the whole movie seems like a dream. But like you said, this is more of a straight narrative, and he sets up the mood perfectly of each scene, where I don't think there's a single scene in this movie that makes you feel comfortable or at ease. Like every scene is like weird and it makes you feel awkward, and he maintains that feeling throughout the entire movie. And I think that's quite an accomplishment, because a lot of movies rely on that today, just like setting the mood, and that's what creates like people like to say elevated horror now and stuff like that. And I think you see a lot of those elements in this movie just by how he sets the mood of the movie, like David Lynch, throughout it. And I think that translates to a lot of modern horror movies now, from what Lynch did back then.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I mean, I understand why this film is like so celebrated as it is, but like the other thing is like how kind of just buried it is. Like it's when you hear people discuss David Lynch, Wild at Heart is like usually way down on the list of films that they bring up. You know what I mean? And it's one of his most awarded films. You know what I mean? It's kind of a weird dichotomy and a weird oddity even in his filmography. You know what I mean? Like in a fucking filmography of insane odd films. You know what I mean? Like, so it's definitely well worth the watch. And like even if you kind of don't dig his style, usually I'd say give this one a shot, because it is so much different than. I mean, it's very similar to like something like Twin Peaks, but like at the same time, like it's almost like he's parodying himself. It's in some scenes, almost he is making fun of Twin Peaks in a couple parts of the film.
Yeah, which I thought with the band, the jazz band.
Yeah.
So you guys picked up on that too. I was wondering if like is he making fun of himself a little bit here? Kind of like.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like he's calling himself out here. But I think of his entire filmography. This is my favorite, which isn't saying much, but it is my favorite.
Well, I knew when you said, because we were watching. I was in the chats on Gathering of the Geeks, which is Emmett and Chris's show that will be on later tonight at 9. If they don't, sometimes they miss us Sunday, but if not, tonight at 9 they have Gathering of the Geeks. And something came up and brought up David Lynch or something. And that's when you said, oh, I don't like David Lynch, because then I was like, maybe try Wild at Heart. It's maybe one of his less weird, surreal, kind of more straightforward.
It is more straightforward.
Like I mean,
it's still weird, but
it's still weird, but he tones it down quite a bit. And it's probably more palatable for like non-David Lynch fans or enthusiasts.
Or non-cinephiles, yes.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't say if you don't like David Lynch, it doesn't make you a non-cinephile. I mean, everyone has their own flavor and what they like. I mean, he's an acquired taste. Don't get me wrong. David Lynch is definitely an acquired taste. Yeah. No, but I figured if there was one you'd enjoy, it'd probably be this one. So.
Yeah, it is this one. Yeah.
Because I know you like that dynamic, like the whole lovers in a strange
toxic relationships.
Yeah. So I figured that part of the movie I knew you'd dig. So I was like, give this one a try. You'll probably dig it.
Yeah. And they were cute together. They have good chemistry. I like it.
Definitely great chemistry.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. Any last comments, Johnny?
No, man. I think I said pretty much all I wanted to say about it. The music in it's great. It's got Alamente's scoring as usual. There's a couple like really cool metal songs thrown in there for added pleasure. So like it's definitely a very lovely film to listen to at the same time. Exquisitely shot. Like I think it's probably visually one of David Lynch's neater looking films. You know what I mean? Like I said, because like there's a lot of more deserts escapes, and there's a lot more them driving through the south, you know what I mean? And I don't if you've ever been there. It's such a green place. It's just so eye catching. You know what I mean? It's so much different. So it's really neat to see somebody with a artistic eye, really capture those landscapes and really kind of bring them to the forefront of their style of bizarre. You know what I mean? And make it fit. You know what I mean? Like outside of their normal, kind of urban element that he usually kind of tries to stay in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and like a perfect example where he utilizes it great is where they pull off on the side of the road, and they're dancing where she needs him to find that station or she's going to freak out. Then it closes with them kind of face to face with like kind of you see the desert scape with the sunset coming, and I love that. That's such a great frame.
It's a beautiful shot.
That personifies like their relationship and everything. It's a beautiful shot of the two of them together, and so like and. If, like Johnny said, if he didn't do this route where they're traveling down the highway, going through desert lands and backcountry or whatever you want to call it, or badlands and all this shit, you wouldn't get all these beautiful shots like that. And I mean, it is like a road movie, right? They spend a lot of the time in that car driving around. So
until the last third when they get stuck at the hotel. And then that's when you really get the dread. And the way that it's personified by the smell of vomit. And like you can't actually smell it, but like he makes the film look like it should smell like vomit.
Yeah.
So perfectly. Yeah. And I don't know how he pulls it off, but like just like
but it's true. The way they set up that one scene, how you say it, you're like they show the shot like a close-up, right? Then Nick Cage comes in, he sits down, and you're like, okay, they're not gonna. So then he's starting to talk to Lula, and it's like, and he's like it's a little ways into the scene before he's like, "What's that smell?" Before he addresses it, and then you're like, okay, so the whole time he's talking to her, he's been smelling it and trying to figure it out in his head, and he can't. So he finally comes out and asks, right? So I love the way he set that up, and it's like right away you like because they did a close up, right? So it's like, when are you going to address? Why would you show a close up of it and just never address it after? But then he doesn't do the obvious of like right away, like, oh, they build the scene up and then they address it. And that, like, I love the way they set a lot of these scenes up like that.
Yeah. So as an art house film fan, man, like this one really, it turns my cranks. And I don't watch it as often as I should, but I think that that's a good thing. Cause every time I do go back to it, I just remember how fucking much I love it. Yeah. It's 8 for me personally, man. If I was going to give it a ranking, and for a Cage film, like definitely top 10 of his movies in my opinion.
Oh yeah, for me,
for the singing alone, man. Like honestly,
top 5 for me. Cage performances, I love this. Like, and it's always like I said, I don't think it's ever gonna leave the top 5 because this is my first Nick Cage movie, and I like it. Just marked me. Like after this, I just love leather jackets. Period. Just snakeskin or not, Like, and then you see interviews with him, and he's wearing like the classic jacket with the like that punk rock one without the spikes or anything, but that old 80s punk rock leather jackets. There, he'd always wear those black ones in interviews and stuff. So, yeah, Nick Cage, man, gotta love him. Gotta love him. So that's our episode of Cage Love, The Wild at Heart by David Lynch.
Right on. What do we got any of the picks for that we were going to throw on the poll ready, or are we just going to get that ready when it's ready?
Well, we got to replace Wild at Heart now, right? Because we had Bringing Out the Dead.
Bringing Out the Dead. Raising Arizona, Sorcerer's Apprentice, and
it was Sorcerer's Apprentice. The other one there where he's like the dream thing.
Oh, Dream Scenario,
and then it was supposed to be Wild at Heart, but now we did Wild at Heart, so we could put Raising Arizona.
No, that'll win. If you're gonna put Raising Arizona on the list, we might as well just do Raising Arizona as the next episode. It's gonna play.
Well, wait. Well, I want to do the poll to give people a chance to pick one. So we'll figure something out for the 4th pick. But yeah.
Well, that's 4, yeah.
No, we're not gonna put Raising Arizona.
Oh no!
Johnny says it'll win automatically, which is
that's true.
That's right up there in my top 5. So yeah, it would definitely be the one I'd vote on. Yeah, because another great directors, great performance by Nick Cage. Like I mean, I mean, you put Nick Cage with a great director, it's going to be gold every time.
Plus, we got Coen Brothers coming up with Tara. We're going to be doing Blood Simple.
Yeah.
Our month-ish type time period whenever she has the time. We've got that figured out. But like, we're going to be watching and doing Blood Simple by the Coens.
So we'll come up with a fourth one, and we'll post it on socials where people can vote for it, and we'll get that. All right. We'll discuss it and figure it out off air. Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Good. All right. That was Wild at Heart, and we're going to be back Tuesday. We're probably going to be doing a big Tuesday. I think we're going to be talking about Spider-Man 2099 and Batman Beyond. What is it? 6,000 Jokers?
10,000 Jokers.
10,000 Jokers or 10,000 Clowns, something like that is the name of the
Clowns. Yeah, Clowns. Sorry. Clowns, you're right.
And that should be a lot of fun. We're going to be doing futuristic Big 2 comics. So hope to see you guys then. I'll holler at you later. Take it easy, y'all.
Later, everyone.